Welcome, welcome.
We're excited to be here. We're going to be talking about some interesting stuff, things that we've been doing in the community.
Okay, you kind of low.
All right, thank you, Victor.
Got it.
There we are. Yeah. So
Yeah.
welcome everyone. So we have, your host Kadriana, or Kay as most people call me. We have Carlos, Pastor Carlos, as a lot of them know him on Saturdays. And then we have two special guests with us today. We have Victor Muniz, a author of 1240 to 316, How I Changed My Legacy. He's a community organizer involved in food insecurity, involved in recovery. He's doing a lot, as well as reentry. So Victor's going to get into it about everything that he's been doing. We haven't had him on the mob in a while, so we're really excited for the update and to talk about some of the things that now that you're in Florida, you're still experiencing kind of the same struggles that we've had here in Pennsylvania. So I'm excited to talk about how even in different places, we have those things. And then our other guest we have is Debby Campbell. Miss Debby is the co-director of the Christ Episcopal Food Pantry. Right here in Stroudsburg. It is a food pantry in which we partner with. We've been working together since this past summer, and we've had a blast, a complete blast this last holiday. Before, and I'm just laughing because it really was. But do you want to say anything?
Yeah. I'm just sharing right now. Hold on. 'Cause I don't even want to see it pro, So it's when I have to share that before I start talking. You know how it is. Guys, it's a pleasure to have you here. Amazing, amazing team. I had the opportunity to work with Victor for many years here in Pennsylvania. Actually, Victor is from the house. Victor was one of the original hosts of the map. So, it's been great. It's been great. And obviously, it's wonderful to have you here. Like I said, back home. And obviously, Debbie, we've been working hard. Like they say, we had a good time. We had a great time. Listen, we do what we do because, we like what we do.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we're doing here tonight. We're going to talk about what we do, the importance of what we do. And like she says, what is the obstacles? Oh, no, that's not the word that you say. I don't want to use another words. I want to use your words.
I don't remember.
You say, well, the inconvenience. Something like that. You know how it is.
I'm going to show you guys real quick some of the stuff that we've been doing this past year. Some of the stuff Victor's been doing that we pulled up from his social media, which you can go online and check it out. And as well, some of the stuff that we've been doing at the food pantry with Christ Episcopal Church as well. So I'm going to let y'all watch that.
See all of that right there? All of that is being prepared for all of you guys, okay?
Us, Peggy, Philippa, Carlos,
Amazing, no? Amazing. Really nice, right? It was super, no?
45 seconds of a year wrapped up.
Basically. But it gets a glimpse, it gets a little bit of that, more or less of the people, what is it that we do and how we do things, I would like to first, say that I've I will say what, 8 years, approximately, no. Here, well, I'm gonna count here, right? I'm gonna put the number here because I've been doing this from New York, right? But let's talk about here. The people that are per se like Victor and Debbie that I've been working here.
Like
6,
5.
Okay, these 5 years, it's been all of these pictures that you see and all of that. It's been a great moment. You know, it's never for us hard work. This is what we chose to do. This is where our heart is and where our experiences are, and this is why we work in a base community program. This is why this podcast is. You're gonna see, you know, in the map. That we're gonna have discussions about the things that they are important to the community, no, and the people that work in that community, right? And I would like to start with Victor. Victor, um, I know that you're doing great things. I know that because I follow you and I see everything, and we're friends. But I would like to the people to know, you know, what has been going on with Victor's since Victor left Pennsylvania and it's in Florida now.
Wow, wow, wow. Besides enjoying the sun when there is any.
Uh-huh.
Well, I've done more in 4 years. I lived in Pennsylvania for 17 years.
Okay.
You know, I've done a lot of things. You know, I did prison ministry in Pennsylvania. I'm still one of the directors of the board of, you know, born again ministry in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. I got a Zoom in Africa. Uh, a few places that you know, Virginia, New York, New Jersey. But then I got my own ministry, right? So you mentioned my name on my book. I love that you remember the whole name. But
That's right.
so the thing is, now that's the name of my ministry. Is really this. So
Oh,
we do. So we do Hebrews 13, which is remember those in prison, doers of the word. James 1:22-25, and honor one another above yourself. Share with those in need. Romans 12:10-16. You know, so I do a little bit of everything. I do prison ministry here in Florida. My ministry. I do the shelter, a collision in Orlando. I feed men, kids, women, family. I cook for them once a month. I literally buy the food myself. I go to Sam's Club and I buy $500 to $600 worth of food and I cook it. And I take it to the shelter and I cook it in the shelter. But I started before that, when I started doing that, I was feeding them out in the street, right? But where they were staying at, some rich people bought all that land and they made it into a parking lot, you know? And then the police started running everybody out and saying we can't feed them no more. They gave me a little bit of respect because I used to put on my chaplain badge, so it ain't just any organization. But still told me, you know, you can't do it no more, this and this and that. But I'm a go-getter. I went to the coalition and I said, listen, I got this extra food. I want to give that to y'all, you know? But you know the way they say, nobody give you nothing for nothing, right? Oh, yeah, you could bring it in. I said, okay, now I want to know, how is it that I could come here once a month and feed everybody?
Mm.
And that's what I've been doing. On January, it's been 1 year I've been in there, you know, and I did February. So I've been there a year and 1 month. I've gone as far as feeding over 200, 300, you know. It just so happened that the shelter that's there is really, they got to set up like more of a program, right?
Mm.
So they'll pick you up. You got to be there for 6 months, and in the 6 months, you got to learn everything that you're supposed to know. We're supposed to do in the house. Take care of your own room. Take care of this. Take care of that. They train you to get a job. They train you to do. They train you for everything. So when the 6 months is up, they will get you either an apartment or a room,
Mm.
right? Because they got 3 different categories. They got the men that are by themselves that don't have nobody,
Mm.
right? And then you got a family place, right? That's the husband, wife, and the kids. And then you got a place with the wife and the kid, the female and the kids only, you know? They do get them on welfare. Yeah, they do everything in line. After 6 months, you should be ready to leave there. They tried not. So I've been having a rough time and all that. In my church, I belong to Elevation now. Uh,
I
they
see
they
that. See that. Yeah.
yeah, they've been helping me a great deal. You
Good.
know, wow. I thought a big church like that don't think of us little guys, but I guess you know you don't know something till you see it. And they partnered up with me and they gave me stuff, hygiene kits and everything else to give to them. And but basically, the place burned down. Only the men's section. So
Oh,
237 men lost a place to sleep.
Mm,
You know, and it gets worse. It gets worse, but we're not gonna stop, right?
of
Uh,
course.
out of
And I
the
and I
200, out
and
of
I
the
like that.
200, go ahead, huh?
Now let me give me 1 minute. I like
Yeah,
that you at the same time that you telling us what's going on, right? With the good things that is happening, but there's other things that are happening too, that they are not so positive. You know what I mean? Per se like that, right? It's the struggles that we face, that we find in life. And it's understandable that we're going to have struggles, because this is going to be of the subjects that we're going to be talking about. And I want real quick, I want to jump real quick, Victor, because I want Debbie's experience when it comes to what she's been doing. Debbie, talk to us. What you've been doing so far?
So, as last March, the other director stepped down from the food pantry, and I was calling to the line of fire and said, "Can you do this? Temporarily?"
Okay.
And I said, "Okay, I'll give you guys 6 months." So that would be March, April, May, June, July, August, and then I think about 1 month into it, I realized that this is an overall project that needed to um, had some vigor to it. And I was sharing with Carlos just before is that when I took over the food pantry, we were serving 30 families. Because I started there volunteering before I even took over the food pantry. So the December before, that would be 2022. When
Mm.
I started there, it was 30 families, and you see the same 30 families come in and everything. It was blah blah blah. And so after the director stepped down and father asked me, can you do this? And I said okay. And I remember keep on saying to them after the recension of the food stamp of the $300 extra money, and I said to them, this is going to increase. And the very next week, and I took over, I think March the 2nd, would have been second, the first Saturday in March. And we had about 35 families that Saturday. And then by the next week, which would have been about the 15th or so, we had 75 families. And it has jumped off from there. That Easter, we served 90 families, ham and everything else that was so needed. And in conjunction with Roots Ministry, Carlos, and with Metamorphosis, this Thanksgiving, we served close to 411 families. And I have to stress families because families is different from individuals.
Yeah.
So right now we are up to close to 2,000 people that we are serving. That includes the adults, the children, the seniors. And we're seeing an influx of, especially as you were talking earlier, the seniors are so much now coming out. And I remember when I was doing this in New York City, and we were doing Meals on Wheels, and I was working out of a senior center, and we were doing a Friday night meal that we made sure all the seniors had a meal, and we're packaging this. And as I'm interviewing them, we had seniors that was eating cat food at that time when they could not afford to get other foods. And it's, in looking at what we're doing now, in terms not only the partnership, in terms of the immigrants that's coming in, and everything else, the food insecurity is so at its highest peak. And within the food insecurity is coming all the other added resources that's needed, similar to what Victor was talking about. You have them for 6 months. So you're trying to get them into skill sets, so forth and so on. Last weekend, for example, we did a food pantry, and I'm learning about volunteers. So during the holiday events such as President Day weekend, I didn't have as much volunteers or whatever, and I had to make do. And so what happened is that then the other side of town, they started to advertise Winterfest. And the crazy thought with Winterfest was to add a bookmobile to this. So we had the books, we had the samosas and everything. So we had a lot of families started to come out. So some of those resources that we add in, for example, this year is that every extra activity that we do within the food pantry, for example, the Winterfest, for example, Easter, for example, the back to school that's coming up in August and so forth and so on, every child is going to get a book, a reading book on their age level. Because one of the things that we are realizing is that a lot of the parents, because they're so busy, in terms of what they're doing, the easiest thing for them to do is to push a tablet or a little phone in front of the children's face. And everybody knows how to pick up a cell phone and squeeze it to talk into it. But a lot of our children are not reading. A lot of the kids need health care. A lot of the families need health care. They can't afford it. If they can't afford food, how are they going to afford to go to the doctor? So one of the things that we're trying to institute right now is to bring in like the mammogram van to the food pantry, bring in the services, the resources to them, because they're not going to get up and go to get it because, number one, I got to take care of my family first. I have to get my kids to school first. So it has been a whirlwind year of trying to figure out what our niche is. And the niche is not just the food insecurity and food scarcity. The niche is you have to look at the family as a whole and some of the things that you have to add in to make it livable.
Absolutely.
At some point with the families.
I mean, just like what you said, what are you talking about right now, and what Victor says right now, right? And I'm analyzing everything, and I'm saying why Victor is a person that is contributing so much to his community, and why he's taking $600 out of his pocket to go buy food when there's supposed to be funds and there's supposed to be people that we choose, that we give them the opportunity to help us in to take all these funds and allocate those funds, give it to the people and work with the people. They are really making a difference. They are working, towards really helping the people. Just like I hear you say the same thing. So it gets that we do have obstacles on Victor. Go ahead.
Okay, what I gotta say to that, sometimes I gotta watch what I say because certain things bother me in life, right? But I guess I'm gonna consider myself like, hey, I gotta say what I gotta say.
That's right.
And sometimes I realize that so many people are willing to give to these organizations that the CEO from these organizations are making $250,000 a year.
It's ridiculous for me. Why?
Right? But then they won't give it to somebody like me that I don't get a penny from nobody and think, no, and I'm not going to listen. I got a lot of people that support me, I got a lot of people from Pennsylvania that sends me money on a regular, and these are my people. And, I send them videos and they literally tell me, Victor, stop that. We know what you're about. We know you're not keeping a penny. And I said, no, I want you to feel what I feel when I feed these people. And by me sending you a video and you seeing where your money goes,
absolutely,
and how the people are living behind what you giving, I know that'll bring joy in your heart. And there was one individual that I sent them a video, and he's been with me since I started. He started giving me $25 a month. And he told me, Victor, the more I make, the more you make. He started sending me 100. The beginning of this year, he sent me 1,000. You know what I'm saying? And I sent them videos, and he felt so, happy with what I was doing that he said, "Yo, keep bringing the videos." Now you see that sweater, that I just showed you. I started with no volunteers. It was just me and my wife, and today we got 17 volunteers. And out of these 17 volunteers, a lot of them also, not only they volunteer, but they also give me money, you know?
But
And
you know,
I bought each one of them one of these shirts of the people that was there with me, a sweater, you know? And I told them, this is not that I'm buying you or nothing. It's just so you could enjoy the fruit as well, you
Appreciation.
know? And you could see and show appreciation, because one thing I don't do is pay. But I also, just in case if you didn't know, I also, me and my wife do mission trips now. And matter of fact, April 27th, we're going to Guatemala for 8 days. And in
Amazing.
September, we're going for another 8 days. And I know about the hungriness here and everything else, but when you go to places like that are third world country, it's a life changer. It's a life changer. I go to the shelter and people tell me I don't eat that. You go to
Here.
Guatemala and you give them a piece of rock in between 2 slices of bread and they say, thank you, God bless you, you know? So yeah, some people say, oh, but you're taking that money. Don't worry about what I do. God says, love your neighbor. It's not the neighbor that lives next to me. Everybody's your neighbor,
Absolutely.
you know?
Debbie, you were saying?
Well, I was saying, just, Victor just said something. I remember the first weekend at the food pantry when the second harvest dropped the food. It was one of the weekends, and we were trying to offset the date because we knew it wasn't a good weekend. And that weekend that was our first 17,000 pounds of food. Remember, we went from 30 to jumping up the numbers, and it was me and my husband and one other gentleman that was offloading that food and taking it into the pantry. You're talking about 600 whole fowls, And just to see in terms of how people understanding and appreciating the mission, because it's a mission that we're doing, and it's from our heart. Now we're averaging 35 volunteers between you guys and everybody that comes through there on a Friday and a Saturday, and the camaraderie in terms of them. And I want to share this. When I first started this, before I took over the food pantry, I used to hate going there. And I have to say things like, I got to put on my big girl panties and go into this place and do this, because I was walking in and everybody had this solemn look. They knew they needed the food, and the people in charge was not making them feel as if it's okay, we're all in the same boat. So they were just coming, and it was just a rhetoric. And one of the things that I'm saying, I love working with Peggy and Philip and all you guys. And I try to make it, these are not clients coming into the door. These are members. These are our members. We are part of them. So I go in and we have this such a good time that by the time they come, we get the food on a Friday. And, I want you guys to come on another Saturday beside Christmas and Thanksgiving. From the time they start coming in and the music is playing and we're having such a good time that although sometimes we're dog tired, it's a good tired. One of the things I tell people, my feet is tired, but my heart is happy to see, the look on their faces. And, I remember last year when they had Girl Scout cookies, and I bought out this whole container Girl Scout cookies, and everybody thought I was crazy. And so we had this room with cookies that when families came with kids, I would scream out, Peggy, get a bag, because the kids are going to the special room and they could take whatever they wanted. And that made the kids wanted to come back. Because I know on a Saturday morning, for example, it's hard for you to leave your child at home and say you're doing this. And a lot of our families, they pull the kids. And so now they come, we have a family room upstairs now that they can go, they can read, they can color, they can watch something. And so we're trying to build it as, we know you need these services. However, we want to make it as if it's seamless, you're coming in and you're doing this. And so, and even, talking about Guatemala, I remember years ago, we had these group of kids come, we had over 500 kids come to stay in a community center from Guatemala. And it's like Victor is saying, the total difference of thank you and meaning it. The families paid money for them to come. And I think for a lot of families, that was all they could afford. And so we were in this gymnasium, and I remember having to sleep nights in this gymnasium for 5 days because they came for it was around Thanksgiving, and so they came for this marching band thing. And you could tell that the families just raised that money, enough money for them to come, and that was it. And sometimes, as you know, we had, a pot of rice, and they were so appreciative in terms of, the little, because it was not a lot, but to them it meant so
The
much.
world, the world.
So much. And that is what makes the difference in terms of what we do, because once again, it's not about the money. And yes, those CEOs are going home with the millions of dollars. It's not trickling down a lot of times to who it needs to trickle down to. And that's the disgusting part about sometimes what we do, because some of them call themselves nonprofit, but it's not getting to where it gotta go. But when we go out there in the line of fire, like when I get a call, Debbie, you got rice, and Debbie, Debbie's gonna make sure you get for your family. You know what I'm saying? No matter what it costs, and we got it. Carlos is gonna make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's what we're about.
Listen, I wanna ask, I wanna ask Adriana, what is it? What is it that you see? I'm trying to say this, in a very good way. But there's no good way.
Yeah.
Man,
How it is, it is how it is.
just throw it at her. She's good at that.
What is it? Where do you see the obstacles? Where are the most obstacles that you see that we had that people like us we face? Like, let's say from your generation, right? From her perspective, your generation. What do you see?
That's actually good, because I'm listening to you guys, and I'm experiencing, obviously we're experiencing the same things. And particularly that this is an election year, and I speak to people my age, something that is kind of a theme in these conversations is, I guess, kind of like this hopelessness for the system. There isn't a faith in it, in the systems itself. And I think sometimes community organizers, or people that work in the community workers, we go into this one of two ways: either we're fighting against the system, or we're putting all our hopes into that the system is going to work with us, and we're going to be able to make the changes that we want. And really, I think, like, one of my biggest obstacles that I've learned is that we got to find ways to rebuild and strengthen our community. I think the changes that we want to see in power are not going to come from the people in power. Why would it? Why would they change something that benefits them? It doesn't make sense. So it has to come from us. We have to be the ones, I think, to really strengthen up, to change, so that then when we actually have a voice as a people, it'll be effective. Because right now it's the voice crying out in the wilderness, but it's it's the warning signs. It's the, hey, we're here, it's coming, but it's not quite strong there. It's not quite like put together like one solidified voice. And I think that's our biggest obstacle, is that we don't come together. And I see this a lot, unfortunately, between organizations themselves. Victor, you even pointed out, that mindset, oh, the big guy isn't going to help us, but then you shot your shot and the big guy did help you. And that's like something that kind of tribalism between organizations that we often, we don't put mind to. But if we did, and we got together, and we could put aside all of the, you're going to steal my people, you're going to steal my resources, and all the pettiness
That is not supposed to be there.
we could help so much. We did. Look, 3 pantries got together for Thanksgiving, and as a result, 400 families were able to have, and we gave them food. We gave them so much food that Thanksgiving. They got turkeys. They got meat for the week as well, to hold them for 2 weeks until we were open again. They got produce. They got dry goods. They filled up their pantry, and we were able to do that because we worked together. And it wasn't about like, well, no, I need to take my portion for my people. There is no such thing as that. We are the people.
And
I gotta say something to that, right? And and I talk about this all the time, that only don't happen just for the homeless or shelters or programs. That's exactly what's happening today with our churches, right?
Absolutely.
Every church is for itself.
Absolutely.
Listen to me. Me and my wife talk about this all the time. You know,
Yeah.
there's only one church in heaven.
We know that. We know that. We
There's
know.
only one church in heaven. Stop
They
that.
tend to be
Stop
tribal.
that. Help
Yeah.
one another. You understand what I'm saying? Me and my wife talk about that all the time. Oh, well, my church is better than yours. Oh, my music is better than, oh, my church did this or my church did that. You know, what are you doing for each other? And I'll switch that to the way life is today, of something that I get tired of. You know what I get tired of? When I hear grown people, right, complaining about kids.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
What?
So
Thank you, Victor.
it's so funny that you would say that, because
But I'm just saying, that's our fault, though. Listen to me. It's how we raise them. You know, if I would have talked to my mother the way I seen these kids talking, I wouldn't have been here having a conversation with you right now. I would have been dead. You know what I'm saying? Oh, probably I couldn't talk because I wouldn't have no teeth. Yeah,
no
you know.
teeth.
But and the thing is we also letting our culture go out the window.
Absolutely.
I talk to a whole bunch of Puerto Ricans and tell you I don't talk Spanish, baby.
Mhm.
What? You understand? And then the people blame the kids. Listen, when I was a little kid, my grandmother told my father, my uncles, and all that, my grandkids will talk Spanish in my house. And if they don't talk Spanish, I will hit one of them, because there's only two reasons they can't talk Spanish in my house. Either they talking bad about me or they're going to talk about something bad they're going to do. Simple. You understand what I'm saying?
It's so
that's what-
funny, Victor. My mom lived with us for 30 years because she came up 2 weeks after my son. My son was born March the 19th, and she came up about April the 1st. And she lived with us, except for 1 year when my sister passed. She went back home and she lived with us. And my mom spoke this dialect in the house, our dialect. I'm from Antigua. And so she would speak this dialect in the house. And all of my kids understood exactly what she was saying. And it's so funny. I can take them to Antigua back and forth, and they understand everything. There's certain words that they use, so forth and so on. And one of the things that people don't realize is part of our culture, that sometimes we try so hard to eradicate it. And instead of eradicating it, you build it into what you're building. So this is supposed to be our Black History Month. And we're trying to do something about that. Language is a part of who we are. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you have Hispanic Heritage Month, you're not just going to put everything in English. You have to represent that culture succinctly so that the younger generation can understand where we come from. Antigua now is having an influx of West Africans. And one of the things that people did not realize was that the language, the dialect that we speak in Antigua came from West Africa. And we fight so hard to get rid of our African heritage over there that now they're dying for them to come there. And so I'm going to say, and the other thing I tell people about grandma, see, when grandma said a kettle is black and it's yellow, it's really black. So you better get with the program.
Yeah.
So none of us would have had any teeth. We'd have had many graves outside the backyard being watered, and we wouldn't know who's on there. Because when grandma spoke, that is what happened. But we're losing.
I gotta go, Colin. I'm sorry. I gotta go. It hurts me in my heart. The conversation is great, you know, and you know, my heart goes out to y'all. Keep doing what you're doing. You understand? Forget about what they say about people like us, of what we do, right?
We're gonna do it.
Because when we pay attention to that, we don't do what we're supposed to do.
We're gonna
keep
do
doing
it.
what we gotta do.
We're gonna do it.
That's
We're
right.
gonna do it. I
Victor,
love
I
you
know.
guys.
Victor
Thank
told
you
me
for
he have
having me.
yes. Yeah, Victor
Nice
said he said,
meeting
"Hey,
you.
I have another thing to do at 8 o'clock." I remember. Victor, thank you so much for being with us, baby. Thank you.
God bless.
God bless.
Amen.
Oh
I
no,
mean,
we have to maintain our youth. And the other thing is that our churches are dying because of the fact that of how we want to standardize our youth also. And so through our food pantry ministry, we've had many families now coming to church and they're coming with their kids. And I tell people all the time, my last child who had a lot of energy, when I was going to church in the Bronx, and all those older folks used to say, shh, shh, shh. When she got away from me, she ran right up to the pulpit, and the minister would be preaching with her in his arms. And that's what church need. And the church is going to die if the young ones are not making that noise in the church. And so that's why even at the food pantry that we have, Will Cologne, he built these little coloring books and stuff like that. So when they come, we have these little rugs they can sit on, they can color and stuff like that. We want them to come because the other thing is that you people don't understand when your kids see some of the things that you have to do, they understand life better. And a lot of our parents, when we're hiding the fact that we can't pay this bill, we can't pay that bill, and so forth and so on, and then when the whole truth comes out, what are you going to tell them? You kind of share it to them on the level. A lot of parents are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and they need to explain that to their children. It's budget 101. You know what I'm saying? So it needs to be put out there, but it's so much things that go in terms with the families that we are serving, and I mean, one of the plights that we're having is now for the community to understand that this is their community. Just like Victor was talking about, the CEOs are making all these big monies, and so they can get into their little cars and they can drive and they can go home. They can pull the cupboard and they can say, "I don't want salmon tonight. I want steak tonight," so forth and so on. And some of these families don't have that advantage. What are we doing about it? And how is that money trickling down? You talk about infrastructure. You put $5 million to fix streets here in Stroudsburg. How much money are you putting to feed these families?
and that's something that, like you're saying right now, right? And I would like to. This is this is an outgoing conversation. Obviously, I know we gotta go. It's about that time, but I don't want to leave. Yeah, I don't want to leave before I say that this is an outgoing conversation because we still gonna have to touch another topics here. You know what I mean? Like you
Absolutely.
said right now, what are the officials of this community? And now we're talking about this community. I'm a straight up person, you know what I mean? And now we're talking here because this is where I operate. This is where you operate. This is where we work as a community, right? And we see that things are going on. You know why? Because the people talk to me.
Absolutely.
This is like you said before, we're talking about 400 families. Yeah, these are families. We're talking about thousands of people that talk to us, that we help them, that we guide them, through the whole year. It's not one event where I'm going to go and promise you this and that. No. These people will listen to what we say. You know why? Because we help them. We are the ones that help these people. So it is like she says, it is a cry, from the wilderness. Well, that wilderness is just got shorter now. It's closer now. Because now people are fed up. You
But
understand
not
what I'm
only,
saying?
but,
People
but,
are fed
but
up.
not only that, Carlos, we are the faces they're seeing, the actual faces that they're seeing. And so who best to advocate for these families that, what I'm saying? Because let me tell you this. Thanksgiving, for example, I sat down. Let me tell you, I fasted. I fasted for these turkeys. Ain't nobody know. And I remember sharing this with you. I prayed, I fasted. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to get 300 or so turkeys to feed my families. And let me tell you something. I called every one of the politicians in this area for assistance. I'm not asking them to give me turkeys. I'm asking them to make some calls for me, so forth and so on. I met some of them at events. Oh, this is my number. Call me. And then they ghost you. They ghost you. You understand what I'm saying? And these are their constituents. These are their constituents that these turkeys are going to. Let me say this to you. Not one of that 400 turkey came to my house. You understand what I'm saying? All these turkeys was given out. All these turkeys was given. And I'm just saying, so this is an election year. And what's going to happen? These same families that you ghosted, because you didn't ghost Debbie. You ghosted these families. These same 400 families that you ghosted, you're going to, they don't do a lot of door knocking anymore. You know what they do? They infiltrate your email and your text to death. This is so and so. These are the same families that you're going to beg to vote for you. That you're going to try to sell that you are the best candidate. But what when I was hungry and you didn't feed me? The Bible says, you know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna be honest with you. We're not. I'm not. You know, like I completely understand what you're saying, and I want to make this clear, right? I'm not into the politics, but guess what? I'm a pastor. The pastor, what he does is work in a community and look that the people of that community are being treated the right way. That it's my only and my sole job. And because that's my job, I'm going to have to talk, like you said, with politicians, with administration, with this, with that, because it's how it works, right?
It's how it works.
I'm not a politician. I will talk to you. I'm your friend or whatever. But let me explain something to you. I'm here because I'm looking, first of all, that the people of this community are being treated the way they're supposed to,
And
right?
they-
Second of all, I'm
they
here
get
to put your
more-
check.
I'm
here to put your check.
The thing of it is that, number one, it's so funny because I live outside of Stroudsburg. And everybody that I serve is in Stroudsburg. And I make sure that whatever pipeline that I have to lead you to, that's what I'm going to do. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm saying is that my style is that if you call me Carlos, just like when I call you and I say, Carlos, do you have a penny? And you said to me, Debbie, I don't have a penny, but I'm going to lead you to the person that may help you to get that penny.
Okay.
Okay, so we all building resources here. But don't get me on the phone and say, you know what? I know I'm going to help you get the penny, and then you ghost me. You ghost me. That is, just tell me I can't do it, then I move on to and let me tell you something. I think you and I have worked together from the summer to now, and you see, I think the two of us have the same kind of personality. And I remember
For sure.
and I remember the day, and I laugh about this a lot about you. I remember the day when you went to pick up the cabbage and either the cabbage or the pepper something. And I think I sent you for cabbage. And when you went for the cabbage, they gave you peppers. And you had already left. And you were calling me on the phone and you said, Debbie, you know, they wanted to know, you know, you said I left. They wanted to know if you wanted peppers. And I said, yes. And you said, I already got them. And you made, let me say this to you.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm like, there's another one like Debbie. There's one like Debbie. It's like, I know the families can use this peppers. We're going to get this peppers. And so, you know, I will take peppers over to street to feed. I'm going all over the place and I'm doing this. And what I'm saying is that the tenacity, the ingenuity in terms of what we have to do to serve our families, you know, sometimes we can't even sleep because we are saying, what's the next step? What's the next move? How do I do this? You understand what I'm saying? And, you know, this is what lights our fire. The fire to move on, to keep it going. You know, I was with Miss K. She was like, you were in Puerto Rico. And she was like, I'm going to up to Palmerton. I'm like, really? I said, you need me and her twice go up. We did what we had to do. We come down. We weren't doing it for us. We were doing it because we know families needed this stuff. And that is the type of fire that I want. And I know everybody's not going to have it, but I think what it is that, once again, my thing is that if you're not into it, you're not into it, and I got it, get it. But don't say you're going to do something and you're not. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that is my fight with other people. But
Yeah. Debbie, it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome conversation. We got to a time already. We extended a little bit. You want to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say before we go, if you could share how people can find information about the food pantry, give us the dates, all the info.
so this Christ Episcopal Church Food Pantry, we at 205 North 7th Street, right behind the firehouse. You can call me 845-820-6598, or the church phone number, is also another option. We operate the first and the third Saturday of each month. You come, you sign up for food. We do not ask you for any identification. You just come. You live in Monroe County. We don't turn you away. You come in, you sign up. I do have families that will call and ask for emergency food. I try to take care of it. So emergency food, how it happens is that if you call me one time, you come, you sign up, you get it, then you come back to the regular pantry dates. But I always try to make sure that I mitigate you getting something. We do have families that live in the shelters too that sometimes can't get to us, so we'll get to them. So
I want to thank you. I want to thank you. And thanks, Father Bruce, Episcopal Church, everybody in the church. Lately, well, the other day, what was it? Paint the town red,
Yeah.
right? Paint the town red. Thank you so much, guys, because I know that the Episcopal Church and the whole administration chose us to be one of the recipients of that donation. So thank you so much for the help. To be honest with you, we really appreciate that. Father Bruce, thank you, and the whole team. Peggy, everybody. I already know. I already know the names here and there. I don't know all of them, but I know. I'm getting there. So I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for everything. And listen, this is something that we're gonna continue doing, having this conversation, because this podcast is designed for that. To sit with the people in this community, the people that are pitching in, the way we say, everybody's pitching in for this, right? So everybody that is pitching in, so this community have a equal opportunity for everybody and helps everybody equally. We're going to continue having these conversations. We have used infusion before, and we're going to continue having this conversation. This is not the end of Debbie. I want you to know that. So this is not a one-time deal. Thank you, Debbie, so much for the info. And like I said,
thank you for having me. Thank you.
Girl, you want to say something?
No, just get involved. If you're watching this and you're inspired, get involved.
Grace